I have this routine now pretty much every morning. I wake up outside, drink a cup of coffee or two, and read through my emails and different mailing lists and stuff that I'm on. And occasionally I'll get like an idea and I'll just immediately switch over to Claude or it's usually Claude, but something. And then just like jam out like a quick prompt and see if I can get something going as almost like a notebook for me, like a placeholder. I might not be able to finish it right now in the next cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah. You see, you're touching on something that's a big thing for me. Are you using it kind of like Evernote? You've got a bunch of projects in the mix or what have you?
I'm just using it as a second brain because I don't trust
Love that.
my own,
Same.
and I I don't mean that to sound like
Oh, no, I hear you though. If you're working
futuristic,
on two or
but
three projects, it's difficult to have the context in your head the
a
whole
lot of
time.
ideas just they come and go, and it's
Yeah.
just the truth, and I guess at this point in my life, I've learned, like, my own little hacks to capture them, like butterfly net. "Oh, that's a good one. I gotta get it." And I put them wherever I can that I know where I'll find them, and that's what these are turning into, at least when it comes to solving small little problems or doing something that, like, helps with a hobby. Or which is like one of some of the stuff I've been working on here
Right.
recently is the summer is here and it's time to get out and go see your friends and do fun stuff on the weekends
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
music festivals and just all kinds of fun stuff. But unfortunately, we all are busy people and we have families and things, and it's
Yeah.
hard to like schedule time together. So it's a common problem.
Now,
And there's go ahead.
before you show us the app, I got a quick question. Like, how long is this session for you? Because for me to code generally, and I'm talking about maybe pre 2020 brain, that's a 2 to 5 hour at least process. It takes a long time for me to get into, I don't want to say the zone, but get into the working area where I've got my docs on one screen, got
Mhm.
probably a command line and an open code editor. That'll take me maybe not 2 hours, it'll take me at least an hour to get up to speed to where I was before and then
Mhm.
feel like I'm actually doing some work again. How long does it take you? Because it feels 5 minutes for me now if I'm just opening up a Claude session.
What I'm actually finding I'm doing unintentionally is I'm using like Claude's free plan, and I'm also been playing around with Lovable, but staying on their free plan. Of
Right?
course, there's limitations for both. Claude has like usage token window
Yeah.
limits that are they flex based on like demand, and you'll run out. Especially like I've started really. I told you before we were recording, I've started really enjoying Astro because we've migrated our site and like I'm learning Astro, and so now like a lot of my projects, I want them to be Astro projects
Gotcha.
because it just gives me so much flexibility and so many things you can do with it. But that's a lot of code
It
and back
certainly
and
can
forth.
be. Yeah. Agreed.
I'm basically burning through the free stuff that they give you, whether it's the token limits on Claude. I'm not able to get more than maybe 5 back and forth conversations or prompts and responses, which isn't all that different from Lovable. You get 5, and I've been treating it like a challenge. It's not often it'll get a 0 shot. A lot of times the app is functional. It'll do what you said, but it's not what I have in my mind yet. But if I can get there in 5, like I Unlovable or until I run out of tokens on Claude, and they'll give you more every 5 hours, by the way, but I don't know, that's kinda my morning challenge. It's like how I've started to sort of like boot up in the morning.
Is that like a
And then
half hour of work or an hour of work?
yeah,
It's hard to put a number on it.
yeah, I would say it's probably half
Okay.
hour to 60 minutes or so. And I don't know, some of that's also mixed. I bounce back and forth between reading stuff and maybe even also like doing a little research on something I just learned about. It's usually no more than 90 minutes of total.
That's amazing to me. I'm pulling out the soapbox here just a little bit because I feel like this to me is like when I used to play video games, I would sit for, I don't know, it felt like 18 to 20 hours at a time. These days, I might have 10 minutes for a video game. And the term for that is called game snacking. And this
Mhm,
feels to me like code snacking or dev
mhm.
snacking. I don't need to pin a term on it, but it does feel like a different way of coding that feels, it scratches that same edge, but in a much shorter time frame. And it feels like I can come back to it a lot easier than I used to be able to.
It does, and that itch is, "Oh, I wonder if I can solve that
Yeah.
problem that I now have." And here's,
Yeah.
like, another problem I have. I like to go stand-up paddleboarding, and there's a ton of really great bodies of water around for me to go when I can, but the weather is, like, the main thing
Right.
that depends on if it's good conditions. You don't want it to be windy, depending on if you're planning on being in the water's too cold. There's just stuff that you wanna know about. So I tried to build a little app that uses open meteorological data that's out there and do that. And it was just like that was a problem I was trying to solve in that moment. I wanted to go paddleboarding. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. And because I've done this enough times to know that I've got 90 minutes to spare, let me just
Right.
see if I can solve this in a fun way and learn something along the way. And usually what happens is if it doesn't work, it's just a toss out. I just toss it back.
Throwaway code. Yep.
Whatever. Yep.
Yep.
I definitely learned something in that time. And then, but if it turns out to be good or I want to continue on this and I have time to continue on it, whether it's immediately or later, I can then drop it into Cursor is what I've been doing. So
Okay.
that's just turned into my workflow lately. Just get a bunch of ideas going. And then ones that actually have some legs, I take them to the next level, or lately sharing them a little bit more with some others and just trying to get some feedback.
Yeah, yeah. So is your spitball approach primarily Lovable or Claude free? Is that those are your tools that you start with?
Yeah, right now it's Claude's probably my go-to where I reach first to just get that, like I said, notepad type of thing, get something going. But Lovable has been like, I would say definitely number two. But the thing that's fun about that, there's this term that I had to look up because when I started trying to figure out what I wanted to build here, I knew that I didn't want to have a real big architecture. I don't want like a back end, like database and cloud
Yeah.
storage. I didn't really want, that's not how obsessed I am about solving my own problems. And also, I don't know, lately I'm just so fed up with being tracked by all of the different tracking
I don't think you're alone. I'm
services
seeing a
out there.
renewed interest in not using Facebook and not using a lot of these social media apps, but trying to figure out what can get it done on your own.
Yeah, it just really, it bums me out every time I see a cool new tool that I want to go try and you have to sign in with an email address and create
Right.
a profile and stuff. And I was like, you don't always need that. That's not always the functionality that you have to have just to get the job done. And that's what I was trying to do here with this app is, like I was saying, it's summertime and there's things to do and people to see. And I wanted to create something like that's a calendar
Oh, this is cool.
that, thank you, that allows me to choose days that I'm going to be, am I going to see the Bare Naked Ladies?
I know
at
that
Red Rocks
band.
that day?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll say I am going to see that. And the reason why it knew Red Rocks is there is I've got these custom calendars that I
Oh, cool.
told it to display. So we can put the Red Rocks calendars in there. The main ones I'm actually the most interested in is all the bluegrass festivals that happen in Colorado. This will show those. And if I say I'm going to be at this, yes, I'm attending that, and then done. And I would go through and just make all my selections, right? And actually, I'm logged in air quotes as you in this.
Okay.
So I just sat here and said, I don't want to have this profile thing and user setup, but there is that kind of functionality. It turns out you can do that in the URL. And I think we've known that, or I've known that forever, but I've never really set out to build something that operates that.
Yeah, I'm only in there using UTM codes and things like that. So what else can you put in that? Because I love playing with UTM codes. Somebody will send me a link and I'll change the referral or what have you just to play around and see what they're doing.
Yeah. You're basically, what's weird is, here, I'll actually finish making my selections here. When you make all your selections and then you go into the results, we can see all the days where it's a good day for you and I to get together. Both of us are available on June 5th. And so I can then say, come in here and say, let's get together for dinner or something. And then hit create invite. And that's going to create a Google invite that you can put in your calendar. But the real way to share this around and get me and you to put in our own stuff is you have to hit down on the calendar. And I'm going to move this to where it's displayed everywhere. You just hit share.
Okay.
And this huge, so if I hit that, this huge, hold the notepad here, link is what gets generated.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that.
I can, yeah.
Make it a little bigger. So that's the URL, right? With all this.
Oh, I see what's going. So it's saying true for certain dates. I can parse this a bit.
Yeah, encoded. So there's users, there's user ID, name, there's JSON, and the dates that I've selected. It's not exactly human readable, but this is like the temporary database that we're basically handing back and forth and building on. If I make some changes, I need to then create a new link and pass it back to you, and that'll be up to date. And then if you make some changes, you'll have to pass it back to me. But we can bookmark these and save them, turn them into hyperlinks to actually create state almost.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I could say my selections last week were this URL, but my selections this week are this URL. So you can create like a history if you wanted.
Right.
Anyway, it just really got me thinking about all the ways that you could use this type of data storage. And so this has been the app that I've been working on the most since we last got together. But then I put together this other one, which is related. But I did it on Lovable.
I see that. Yeah. But it looks the same.
I made it look the same. I told it let's use the styling, even though it's over on Lovable. And one day I'll probably give it a real domain. But one of the other challenges, I think for me and my friend groups, and again, probably literally everybody, is when you're doing fun stuff, sometimes you get together, you all chip in on expenses and you're trying to figure out later like how to split costs, or maybe you have a big dinner date and there's
Mhm.
10 of you. Splitting costs is just always a headache. So that was something else I wanted to solve for.
Oh, I
Of
like
course,
that. APIs and IPAs. Perfect.
and then of course I'm not going to put my Venmo in, but there, if I did, you could then send me stuff. But there's tools. There's like Splitwise that could handle this. There's Doodle, which can handle like the calendar stuff. But again, I don't want to go log in and give them all my email information.
Yeah, I
And
think we were looking at Doodle the other day. It's changed hands a few times, so I worry about where that data is being used is my thing. And then people in the US use, is it Cash App or Venmo? They I think are splitting stuff, but then as a Canadian, I don't use either of those. So this is constantly a concern for me.
Exactly. And now I'm going to put this up. It's already in GitHub. And so go just deploy this somewhere yourself. And you don't have to use those tools.
Oh, that's cool.
So anyway, I was just kind of like making up numbers here, but put you in here, put myself in here. You can also change the colors. Pretty much anything that you want to change can be stored in the URL. And it's pretty fun. So yeah, I owe you $10.50. And we could say maybe there's one other person, maybe Rick was going to join us or something. And then, so we're going to actually split that 3 ways now. So there's 3 people for 2 expenses. Now Rick just owes you 22 and me, Jason, or me, $1.
Gotcha. So if we had supper 2 nights in a row and I paid one night, you paid the other night kind of thing, this would definitely solve that.
Yeah.
And then if Rick came along for both and didn't pay anything. So
yeah. Assuming you like just waited till the end to tally it all up, you just put in your stuff. And again, you can share this around. Like I put in my amount and then I'll like text it to you and you put in your amount. Anyway, I told you the other day in Chaz, I've become obsessed with trying to find other little apps I can make that do this, but Dash is upon us. And that's
yeah, our internal event is taking up a lot of time. I do wonder though, have you tried making these apps in multiple places, or do you typically just use, because you're using 2 different types here. I guess I'm wondering about the rubric or what that thought process is, or is it just you reach for the one that's closer and try it out and see how far you can go?
I guess I was saying, I usually start with a Claude.
Right.
But one thing that I did realize in this most recent session with Lovable, with this the Split Something app, is, we get in here to, it's down here. Please forget that they're right down here.
Paddle Weather Whisperer. I like these names. I can figure out what it's trying to do.
We can come back to that one.
The Suff Weather Tracker.
So the deal with this is, I told you that I started in Lovable, but you only get 5 wishes. So you can only do 5 times. And then, but one of the neat things, I guess it's neat for me, at least in this situation, is that you can push it up into GitHub and just create a new repo from right here. So I like that idea, because if I like where this is headed, I do want to get it into GitHub pretty soon, because from there, I'm going to probably play with it in multiple places. So I hadn't really taken advantage of that intentionally until now. And as you can see over here on the left, once I put it up into GitHub, I then pulled it up into Cursor, started doing things over there, and it automatically, all I was doing was just making some changes to the README initially, but it automatically noticed the changes in the repo.
That's cool.
And I could then review the changes over here and see it. And then another observation here about this whole process is, just because, I guess now I have a better understanding how Lovable, it's not going to just redeploy the app now that it's in GitHub and you've pushed code back in. There isn't some sort of automation, continuous like CI/CD build that just happens right then. You still got to come back into Lovable, and then there'll be an option up there to, I don't think it's published. I think it's like redeploy or something.
Refresh or something like that. Okay.
Exactly. Because it sees that the code has changed. And at that point, now it's deployed obviously onto Lovable's infrastructure, and the app and everything will work through the URL. That's been the process for these few. Is I'll start in the cheap sections or in the free stuff. If I like where it's headed, let's get it into GitHub. And then from there, I usually bring it down into Cursor. And if things are really not going the direction I want them to, I get out Claude Code. And because it just seems to like read my mind and do exactly what I need it to. But I try not to always default to that. Like I like understanding all of them.
Yeah, this feels like a rapid application development framework of some sort. Even though on your end, it might feel like you're cooking spaghetti and throwing it at the wall. The fact that you can try different ideas this quickly and iterate that fast, even if you have to go to GitHub and then refresh a page, to me is a benefit. Because as someone who doesn't do front end, this would be me asking a team to do something, waiting a week or 2, and then coming back to me and saying, hey, this looks good. And I can say, okay, and then seeing what they come back with, only to realize my actual architecture was wrong, or the premise that I had come up with was wrong, or the framework I was using was wrong, that the idea was wrong. There's something fundamentally wrong with my idea.
Yeah.
Not with their code, but like with the instructions I've given them.
And some of them like have been, they exposed to me how complex this might be. I have to decide, do I want to go that way? That sounds fun, but like I need to stay in this quick ideas. Like just what are the little things that have been bugging me that I can just solve, and let's move on. I'll save the complex ones for later when things have evolved, and also I've run out of small problems. But at least I got them documented, and I can come back to them.
The other thing that sticks out to me is in a pre-Gen AI world, and like let's say it's 2019 or maybe 2018. For me, at least, I might write the ideas down, but I definitely would not have done anything. So I'd have a list of 20 ideas, maybe 30 at the end of a couple weeks of working on something. And chances are I may have spitballed on one of them, maybe two, if that, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I have to acknowledge the privilege that I have to sit
exactly.
outside on my front porch and just drink coffee and ideate and read and learn and build, and then start my day kind of off like that way, and then I take
the promise of remote work was on the beach with your Mai Tai or what have you, and stuff like. Listen, I worked remote, and that still wasn't a reality for me. There was still stuff that I needed a bit more access. This does feel like I don't want to say lone wolf, but something you can do solo pretty easily without too much interaction, and then go back to a team and say, hey, I played around with this on the weekend. It looks like there's a new feature in Astro version 5 called, I don't know, component collections or something like that. I forget what they're called, but some collections that we can use. As a result, let's try that. Here's an example. Let's not use this, but here's an example that I got with Lovable or Bolt or Claude or what have you. That to me is incredibly valuable because, again, as someone who doesn't do a lot of front end, it's amazing for me to be able to try that stuff out. So I think what I was looking for is some sort of other methodologies. So you're saying 5 tries is generally when you'll stop. You'll try a different tool. It's not time-based. It's more about what can you get done for free with a couple iterations or up to 5 iterations. Then you'll pick up either Claude code, or if it's really serious, Cursor is what it sounds like. And then you'll work from there and get like a human in the loop and another person to give you your feedback, and then settle the features. Does that encompass?
Yeah. And you know what? Now that you say that out loud, and
sorry to rationalize it, but this sounds awesome. I just need friends, I think is the only thing.
So what it is, basically what I'm doing is like exactly what I do with like songwriting.
Oh, yeah.
Is look, we're not always in the right headspace for things. And so when you are, you got to jump on it. And that's what those 90 minutes or whatever it is. It changes, but that's what that is for me. It's creation and collection time. And I've figured out I can use that as like just getting ideas to bubble up and use the time that I have to see if I can make some sort of progress. And it's just a phased approach. Like I've 100 ideas, I get them down to 5. From there, I get them down to 2. And then we do the next thing. And that, if the fact that we can all do that now, that there's going to be a lot of people solving their problems, which I think is awesome.
Which brings me to my next question. This is I've got a solution, but I don't know what you're doing. But my brain feels like it's a squirrel, and I'll look the other way. And something grabs my attention all the time, especially now that we're ramping up to an internal conference. I've got a little bit less time than usual. I'm babysitting some dogs, my own dogs, let's be honest. If they got any health problems or something like that, I might be dealing with them for a second, then come back to the computer. And traditionally, like that, 1-2 minute change of not looking at something, it would mean when I came back, it would take me about 15 minutes to ramp up to what I was like, maybe not that bad, maybe about 5 minutes. These days, though, it feels like I can just type continue and continue on. That being said, there's sometimes when I change tools that I really miss not having that context from whatever chat session I had. Sometimes I'll copy that out and I might say the prompt or the system prompt or what have you, a PRD I think we talked about before. I've been using to-dos a lot these days, but how are you keeping that context between maybe different days, or if you're handing off to a different person or a different tool? What does that look like for you? Because to-do is my answer. And I don't think it's the best, but that's all I've got right now.
Yeah, I think for these, I don't believe I'm using to-do. Let me...
And for those listening, I'm literally just talking about like a to-do.markdown file with checkboxes in it. This is as sophisticated as I've gotten at this point in time.
I've got a Claude file.
Okay, like a Claude.markdown.
Because I did bring it into Claude code at some point.
Okay. And does Claude Code do that by default? Having only played with it once, I didn't know.
It's a good question. I don't remember if I prompted it to make this. I think it created its own because there's not a lot here. I
Interesting.
want to say it probably, yeah, I don't know if I remember exactly when that was created, but that's all I've gotten really in here. I do have a roadmap file that I started. It was going to be like my to-do.
That's a good one. Yeah, when you're thinking down the road for other features or what have you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually I did that. Like the first version of it is here. I do have, like I said, there's a Claude file in here, but it's really small. I think it was created automatically. I don't remember asking it to do that. But my roadmap file is like my similar to a to-do, but really meant to be like feature requests. So the first version I had of this, I sent out to some folks and they came back and told me it would be great if I could send it out to multiple groups of people and keep that somehow still straight. Like some are my like music friends and some are family. And like, how do I like visually see that? And at first I was like, I don't know if I can do that without having some sort of back end, like state management. And then the same with also getting granular down to the time, like what specific time, not just what day. But the more I was like thinking about it, I was like, I think it's just another number, just another like variable to be stored in the URL. I don't know why we can't do that. So I can actually check this off. I did that. And that's pretty much all I've done so far. I haven't gotten probably more than 4 hours total time into this.
That's pretty good too. If you think about the actual amount of work that you've done versus the output, that's actually pretty incredible.
I was really impressed with you know what, I might actually be able to pull up the first one it gave me, the Zero Shot. Let's see, you can see all the stuff. Colorado SU stand-up paddleboard location app. Oh, I made a little Wordle game, a bluegrass themed Wordle. You like
Wordle? Looks amazing. I do in fact like Wordle. I'm enamored with the fact that you can resume your state by just opening the same URL again.
Yeah,
I think is what I really like.
I've got a really nice, what do you call it? Telescope, like deep space telescope, not deep space, but like a good telescope.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see if I could build something that helped me choose which day and time I should go look at stuff. Didn't make very far on that one.
I'm loving this list of ideas, like each one. So each session is a new idea. I guess one of my problems with Claude is that my brain is just all over the place. So I'll end up putting 3 or 4 ideas into the same thing, and then it gets confused. Halfway through, it will change my weather app into a translation app just because of the way that I started talking to it. So I've got to be careful to split that stuff out. But it looks like you've already learned that.
Yeah, it is a good way to compartmentalize things. And me to go back, I completely forgot about the Wordle thing. And yeah, so that's another one. And it's actually, it works. So I got to go back and tinker with that.
Very cool.
But this was the first conversation I had. So let's see. Let's make this a little bigger. Want to build a web app to help me find dates where multiple people are available on the same day, like doodle.com, but only the date, not the time, is important. I want users to see a calendar view, select all the dates and dates blocked. The app will then show all the best options for dates where the most people are available.
I got to say, this is the worst project definition I've ever seen. This is a Jira ticket. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones where you're like, that project manager, really?
Sometimes that idea is just,
but that is fantastic. That's the fact that you can run with that and just a natural human language way of speaking to an engineer is phenomenal, right? You don't I need it done by Wednesday. The large t-shirt size. I realize you're also busy on these other things, but this is a priority too. So please prioritize it appropriately. This is fantastic. It removes all of that headache of overhead of dealing with an engineering team. But at the same time, you can do this while doing other things like drinking your coffee. It's phenomenal to me.
It just helps me get some ideas.
Even this first iteration that you're showing me here, I guess it says V2, but this looks pretty good.
Does what it is supposed to do.
This is a really good rapid application development tool.
Which couple things here, and then we look at the results, and all 3 people are available.
That's phenomenal.
That's what it got on shot 1 for 0.
This is great. The way that it can create React apps that are just in a sidebar in Claude, I think is fantastic. Be it in web or desktop or even the iOS app, I've noticed it's actually pretty neat to me just to visualize the idea that I had and realize, oh no, that's actually, why would you do that? You don't need the times of the day. Actually, what I need is the date, and then realizing that's your feature set and going back to the well to get more. That's fantastic. I think the key is that you can get that result out there quickly and then iterate. Problem with me, I guess, past me prior to 2022 would be that I just wouldn't get started because it was so hard to get started.
Yeah.
And now I can get started on 5 or 6 different things and then pick the best out of them instead of just sitting there worried about how much time this would take and not doing anything or over planning. That is really cool.
I do not like to waste time. And
Right.
finally, I feel like I'm not wasting time by just
Right.
exploring something. There used to be so many different things I'd want to do with Raspberry Pis and
Oh, don't get me started. I got 12. Yeah, don't get me started.
and
Absolutely.
I know that I'll get, I don't know, days in and realize this isn't working. And I have this like a dread, this like feeling that washes over me. I'm like, that was a waste of time. And I just don't like that time is like the one thing I do not waste.
That is really cool. Listen, I learned a lot from your process. I've been using Bolt a lot and Claude Desktop and ChatGPT to a lesser extent, but those are the 3 sort of tools that I use. I will say every time I've used Lovable, I get lovable results. And I hate to say that because it's punny, but it's absolutely true is that I do enjoy my time in that app. And it feels, if we're still voting with our wallet, it's almost time to stop the Bolt subscription and maybe move over to Lovable. It's where I'm at, but I have paid for Claude and it wasn't cheap. I do feel like I'm getting my money out of it. And that's not just like Claude Sonnet for coding as an API key, but also the actual chat app. I do like it. I do pay for ChatGPT, but I've noticed myself using it less and less, primarily because I'm using Claude for coding and I get more value out of coding than I do talking to ChatGPT about random things. It's not my search engine. It doesn't do that yet for me. I don't know if it does for you.
Occasionally I'll start there on some things, but yeah, that's not why. I'm the same with you. Like most of the stuff I've been wanting to do lately is solve my own problems. And I don't want to just, I could go use Doodle and I love Doodle. I've used it for years. That's what we've used. It's worked fine. I just wanted to make something else. It's a solvable problem that I can take care of myself now.
Yeah, that solve your own problems, that citizen developer thing to me is very exciting. That means like the amount of people who can code seems to have increased. I'm bringing down a bar, I think here. I'm lowering the bar for more people to start coding because I know it's difficult to say what the total addressable market is for developers out there. But I do feel like it feels like it's exponentially growing as a result of making these tools more accessible.
Yep. More equitable. Just
totally agree.
Yeah. That's probably about all the time we have to talk today. So
that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for showing us what you've been up to.
Yeah. It's been fun kind of finding time, usually, like I said, in the morning to work on it. Because as soon as I close the iPad and go up to my office, it's been Dash.
Yeah, that's what happens this time of year. Yeah, for sure.
Dash is closing. We're almost here. So
a week away.
Once we get through that, then we have a lot of plans we want to make with this program and what we're doing here. So
absolutely,
it'd be nice to be able to focus on that. And anyway, thanks, Ryan. And
no, thank you. That was awesome.
We'll talk to you on the next one.
All right, bye, folks.